Good evening and welcome to our meeting tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Joan Esquivel, and I am with the Watershed Protection Department's communications team. We're here tonight to talk about the Glen Lane, Slayton Drive Storm Drain Improvement Project. Our plan is to share some information and then open it up for questions. And with that, I will turn it over to Christina McLaren, who is the sponsor for the project.
Thanks, Joan. As she mentioned, my name is Christina McLaren, and I am the project sponsor for the Glen Lane Slayton Drive Storm Drain Improvements Project. This project is located in the Georgian Acres neighborhood, which is within the Little Walnut Creek watershed. The project was initiated by a condition assessment of the existing system. We would like to do some introductions of the team. Again, my name is Christina McLaren. I am the project sponsor, and that is in the Watershed Protection Department. Rupali is my supervisor, and then we have Joan Esquivel, also from the Watershed Protection Department. Ria is with the Capital Delivery Services, and she's serving as the project manager. And then we also have our consulting engineers from HDR. Brian is the PE. Here is a general outline of what we will cover in the presentation. First, I'll start with an overview of what local flooding is. Then we'll talk through the project history and details. Then we'll talk the next steps and timeline for the project. I'll share some resources that are available to you as residents of the city of Austin. And then at the end, we'll have our question and answer portion. I'm going to turn on my laser pointer, which I'll use at some points during the presentation to direct your attention. Also note that these slides have a number at the top, which can be used as a reference in case you have questions. Pictures from Austin demonstrate the two categories of flooding we typically see across the city. There's creek flooding, which occurs when the water in the creek rises above the banks. And then we have localized flooding, which occurs away from the creeks and is typically a combination of an intense rainfall and an undersized drainage system. The Glen Slayton project area primarily experiences local flooding. Localized flooding is mainly documented through flood reports. On this city scale map, you can see the project area on the north side here is located in one of many clusters of reports we have received. To date, we've received more than 6,600 flood reports for localized flooding. Neighborhoods built before the 1980s commonly experience drainage problems because the current drainage criteria was not in effect. Another factor is the rainfall data that we use to design drainage systems is based on historical data. We recently adopted new rainfall data called Atlas 14, and in general, Atlas 14 told us that storms have gotten larger or more intense than was previously understood. Localized flooding typically doesn't have a quick or easy solution, which is why we have these CIP projects. Local flooding is primarily addressed through storm drain systems. Storm drain systems have multiple components, of which I have the most common shown here. I'm going to walk through these elements as if we were a raindrop going through the system. So first, we have rain, and it falls onto the street. It flows off to the side, where we have curb and gutter. The curb and gutter takes the water to the inlets. The part of an inlet that we can see appears as an opening in the curb. What the inlet does is takes the water from the gutter above the ground below into the underground storm drain pipes. These underground pipes carry the water to an outfall where the water exits the pipe into either a creek, an engineered channel, or sometimes a pond. We want to design these storm drain systems so that in most storms, the water in the road will drain quickly. This project was initiated by a TV inspection that was performed in 2015. It showed severe damage to the pipes and a collapsed section of the pipe. The image on the right here shows the poor condition that was observed in 2015. Our field operations division fixed the collapse section, but the remaining parts of the system had to be addressed by an official in-house project. The in-house project was started in 2017, and this is where the team went through the feasibility phase and started the design phase of the project. However, partway through the design, there were too many utility conflicts, which caused the project to be elevated to a capital improvement program, otherwise known as CIP project. This happened in 2018. This caused the project to be on hold until earlier this year when it was kicked off as the CIP project and the engineering consultants were brought on board. Now that you are more familiar with localized flooding, storm drain systems, and the project history, let's take a look at the existing storm drain system, which is shown here on the right. It's a relatively small system consisting of storm drain, shown in black, and curb inlets, shown by the green triangles. There is a pipe coming from Glen, a pipe coming from Slayton, and these meet at the top of the T before continuing south through the backyards. And then the outfall is on the south side of Carpenter, where the water then enters the channel. As I mentioned earlier, the TV inspection showed that most of this system is in poor condition. Additionally, this location between houses and in the backyards is really difficult to access for maintenance and repairs. This is the proposed layout. The new system, shown in purple, will be located in the street. This will be easier to access for maintenance. The curb inlets, still shown by those green triangles, will be replaced. And when the new system is complete, the old system will no longer receive stormwater flows. Thus, it will be decommissioned or deactivated. The old system will be either removed or abandoned. We are still exploring these options. Both these options will require temporary access. Before we can complete the plan to abandon or remove the existing system, we need to survey the area where the existing system is. This way, we know where structures, trees, property lines, and anything else is, so that we can put together a complete plan with all of those entities in mind and know how much room is needed for temporary access. Removing, or for some segments, properly abandoning the older existing line at the end of the project is an important step for safety reasons. Later this year, right of entry forms will be sent to these property owners so the surveyor can access the drainage easement and the area adjacent to the easement. So again, still where the existing line currently is. One more thing I wanted to mention on this slide is we analyze projects for downstream adverse impacts. This project will not cause any adverse flows or flooding downstream of this Carpenter outfall. And there are no planned improvements downstream of the Carpenter outfall. Here is a look at the stages for a CIP project. First, we have the in-house feasibility. This is where the team starts with some internal analysis of the project area. Then comes preliminary engineering. This is when a solution is identified and costs are estimated. After that comes design. This is when the details are worked out and construction plans are drawn up. Next is permitting and bidding, which is when a contractor is hired and all the necessary permits are acquired. Lastly, the construction phase, which is when the project is built. We are here in the middle of design phase. For project implementation, the current estimated construction cost is $1.3 million. First, the new storm drain system, again shown in purple here, will be constructed. After that is complete, we'll deactivate or decommission the current storm drain system. As I mentioned before, This step is very important for safety reasons. Here are the next steps for the project. As I mentioned, we still need to perform some survey and then finish the detailed design. If you live at one of the properties near the existing system, we will be reaching out to you and your neighbors. We will require some easement, and again, we'll reach out to those owners individually for this step. We will continue our public outreach by keeping the project website updated and sending significant updates through the project email listserv. If you're interested in being on that email list, just let us know. Once the final construction plan sets are complete, we will go through the bid process. Then we will have another public meeting called Meet the Contractor, which will occur before construction starts. Here is the anticipated schedule. Design is expected to continue through the winter of 2024. Then we expect construction to start in the summer of 2025 and go through the winter of 2026. This schedule is contingent on future budget and engineering analysis. Here is how you can get involved. Our teams appreciate hearing about your flooding experience. Details, photos, and videos are all especially helpful. If you'd like to provide feedback, you can do so by contacting me. My contact info will also be available at the end of the presentation. Here are some things you can do or resources you can use to address flooding. Flooding and drainage concerns can be submitted through 311. That's a quick phone call, or you can use the new app, which is pictured here on the right. You can avoid improvements that will impact your neighbors. You can consider purchasing flood insurance. If you're interested in information about flood proofing, you can email floodpro@austintexas.gov. During significant storm events, you can check atxfloods.com for road closures. Also, you can sign up for warning and notifications at warncentraltexas.org and atxfloods.com. Another resource I wanted to share with you is the department's strategic plan called Rain to River. It will serve as a guide for our department's work for the next 10 years. We are seeking public input, and if you'd like to find out more, then you can head to raintoriveratx.com. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me, Christina. My phone number is here, and here is my email. You can also reach out to our project manager, which is Ria. If you have questions in Spanish, you can reach out to Susan, and her phone number and email are shown here. Lastly, the project website is a great resource for information and can be found at austintexas.gov/Glenn Slayton.
Thank you for joining our meeting. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone who is listed here. You can also find project information at the website, austintexas.gov/Glenn Slayton. Thank you again for joining us and have a good evening.